So, good morning, everybody. And maybe to most of you, good afternoon or good evening. And to all of you who are watching later, good morning, good evening, good afternoon. So, today our class is going to be on what I call subtle holds and rotations. This is some of the most important work that we do in my class, Reflexology for Trauma and Addiction. Um, a couple of you have been in this class. It is a live class or a series of classes that we do live. So, for those of you who have been in that class, on the receiving end of this very gentle and subtle work, it can be very deeply relaxing to give and also to receive. But even in giving, what we do today, especially with that other person, with the person you're working on, is deeply, deeply relaxing. Um, I have often said that this particular aspect of the work can only be taught in person. And I believe that. I think it's very, very true. We have to be able to do this in person. We have to be able to do it and feel it. Um, enter. But I want to try to convey some of the principles today. And I think they are transferable. They are learnable in this format. We can at least begin the conversation. And also just to know that this technique, or these techniques rather, are not merely physical. In fact, the work that we do within us as practitioners, as human beings, as givers. It's really a daily practice, and it occurs before we even touch somebody's feet, before we even, I would say, I would go so far as to say, even before we do self-care. So, for self-care and client care, there's an enormous amount of work we get to do on ourselves before we even touch somebody's feet. And welcome. The concept of subtlety and space, giving space for someone's healing journey or process to evolve, is a very, very rich one. And so we'll explore what that looks like today, what it feels like today. Um, and I wanted to also say, this word subtle, the actual word, admit. The word subtle or subtlety is interesting. It certainly means, as it sounds really, subtle, means gentle, means delicate, means fine or precise, and also it means difficult to describe. So it's interesting to have a conversation, to have a class about something that is quite difficult to describe, which is why I think it so needs to be felt and administered and received. Um, there's a great book, some of you may know, called The Subtle Body by Cindy Dale. Yeah, yeah. Lori's shaking her head. Yeah. It's a wonderful book. And someone actually just brought it up the other day because she's doing a conference very soon on trauma. Or she's one of the speakers. But that's a very interesting, like, encyclopedia of what this means, the subtle body. Dun, 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 welcome. So there is a phrase, some of you have heard this before. It's a phrase by Lao Tzu. It goes like this: water is the softest thing, yet it can penetrate mountains and earth. This shows clearly the principle of softness overcoming hardness. And this is a very strong visual for me, right? As water passes through and penetrates mountains, right? And sand and land. Uh, sometimes in reflexology, for sure, and other practices, certainly, There may be these really limited perceptions about, what is the like quickest, fastest, best way for me to fix something. This is, something I want to continually give attention to. May I not be someone that's always just trying to fix or control something. So already if I think about, do you ever like find yourself in a day, you'll be like, God, I just gotta like figure it out. Like I say that all the time. And every time I say it, I'm like, darn it, darn it. Let me not figure it out. Let me not get so hard and in here that I try to fix or control something. Right. So I already know if I'm using certain words, certain terminology, then I'm already off course. Right. So fixing, controlling, forcing, to me is not the way towards healing. That's been my experience. And it took me a long time. I sometimes tell a story in one of my shorter classes about when I was going through Reiki training, how we had to get a series of it was a very long journey for me. I'm a Reiki master, so it was actually many years, and it's continued. We have to continue to study this practice. There's no such thing, in my opinion, of master. But I remember really early on, I had to go get a session, and I got this session from a beautiful practitioner, and I was lying there and I was pissed the whole time. I was so upset. I was so angry because this person was doing nothing. They were barely touching me, and I gave him money. It was a waste of money. There was all this chatter I had in my head around needing or feeling that there was something outside myself, somebody else that I was going to pay and they were going to do something and it was going to make me better. And that took so long to release. And it creeps in subtle ways all the time, but not in that big way anymore. That journey has rounded its corner, but I think it's part of our society too. We grow up with, perhaps some of us grow up with these ideas of force or deep work, being better, even in our terminology or in that phrase, no pain, no gain, right? And for me, it's I've discovered that a gentler, more subtler approach with specificity, a very, very clear intention, and the work I do before I even begin the work with another of clearing and cleaning away all the stuff, all the debris, that is so much more impactful than any kind of like work I can, think I can do for somewhere else. Where you've heard that human beings, human doings, like there's nothing I need to do, being present for someone else. In fact, the first exercise we do today will just drop us into our bodies before we learn the techniques. Um, so yes. So we are this messaging system. Um, and what I mean by that is I receive signals. One, we receive signals from our external environment, and these signals are communicated via or thanks to our central nervous system. That is to say, that within me lies this tremendous ability, this tremendous unwitting, unknowing, unconscious comprehension ability to make sense without my conscious knowing of my environment through my senses, through my sensorial experiences. So, through my taste, through my touch, what I touch, what touches me. And again, if you've been in my classes, I say it all the time, I repeat it all the time for myself and for you, right? Through sound, through smell, through sight, through all of these senses, everything on the outside is processed on the inside. That's how it's made sense of. The senses are made sense of on the inside. All right. So we might have what I call, or we could call a hard experience or a difficult passageway, rough terrain, right? And this can be emotional or otherwise, literal or emotional. And We have a processing system within us that has the capacity to translate that external data, that information, that hard experience, that rough terrain coming at us, right? And we grow in this kind of unconscious understanding and perhaps gain an ability to soften those hard lines, right? With these techniques we're going to learn today. So you could even think of it like, when if some of you draw with pencil or charcoal, you can like draw this mountain. I did it with a really soft pencil. And then you can take your fingertips and like smudge the edges and kind of push it into the paper a little bit, and it softens it, right? So this is a similar thing we can do in our actual experience of the technique of what we're learning today. And in many ways, it's almost like unraveling, right? It's like unraveling or softening something that might be quite tight or hard or blocked. Those of you who are practitioners, just in that action of holding feet, and it doesn't just have to, you don't just have to be a practitioner. You can be doing this for a friend or a child or, someone you're caring for, just holding the bottom of those feet, right? And as practitioners, you know this, massage therapists too, we do an action that is the same called traction, right? Where we lean our bodies back. We don't do anything. We don't do any hard lifting with our arms. We simply are holding the calcanei, the little heels, and we simply lean our body back. And in so doing, we should feel that client's back body. And the intraction, what is happening or what wants to happen is this elongation, this kind of stretching of that back body. But in doing that, if you've ever felt when you do that with a client that it's like their back body's tight or they're going stop, there's this kind of resistance. There's something we'll learn today that can help with that. So we're not going to be pulling against what we're feeling somebody's body is saying no. We're going to have another route to help soften that traction. So we'll actually, as we go into traction, we're going to do something else that will soften it so that they don't feel like we're trying to stretch them. Right. So we're really letting go of all those beliefs that we can do something and we're going to fix something about somebody else's body, right? They're tight, so we're going to stretch them. We're going to totally let go of that kind of way of thinking in this work today. And I'm going to say one more thing, and then I want to kind of open it up to see if there are any questions, and then we're going to dive in. We're going to start doing stuff. And this last thing I wanted to say was a client. I had a client last week. So much fun. This client said, as I was doing stirring the soup, those of you who have stirred soup with me before, it's what I call a certain action, a technique that we'll learn today. I call it stirring the soup or stirring soup. So I'm doing this action. He goes, whoa, he says in the middle of the session, I can feel that all the way up my back body and into my head, and it's tingling. He was like, the perfect client. I was thinking, holy moly. Like, and he actually was a quite giving client because during the session, he kept on speaking. And I know some of you have had this experience too as practitioners, telling you, ooh, I feel it here. Where are you? I feel a tingly sensation there. But he was responding mostly to the subtle rotations and the heart holds and the other techniques that we're going to do today. Those were the moments he was like, I can feel as if my inner body is opening. I could feel my back body elongating, softening. I can feel my head tingling. It was really a cool experience to be able to hear somebody be able to articulate. He didn't know that this technique that I discovered, I wouldn't say create because I feel like everything is kind of out there to be excavated or remembered or met. So he had no idea that this technique is actually done in many ways to free up that back body, right? So it was really neat to hear him be able to articulate that. Very, very cool. So the first technique we're going to do today is actually, we're going to talk about the back body. We're going to do it together because we want to get in our back body before we free somebody else's back body. And then we'll do a couple techniques around this subtle rotation and heart and head holds. So I wanted to just take a pause and ask, are there any questions, any ideas, any offerings? Um,
I
yeah,
want to say something.
yeah.
Yeah. So when you say that, I feel that it's very important to be present and connect with the energy of the other, of the client,
Mm,
and really kind of contain that energy in order to do this work in a subtle way.
beautiful. Yeah, you said something. What is that first sentence you just said?
To be present and connect with the energy.
Yeah. Really beautiful. It's funny, and my cat is like running around right now as you're speaking. Yeah, be present, can connect with, and I think you even might have said their energy. And
Mhm.
I'm really glad you said that because yes, 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 yes. And well, inherent in the words you chose, be present. When I think of presence, I think of my body. How can I be so present? That's the first step. How can I be so present in my body that now I have the ability to be present for another? And in that presence, therein lies the ability to truly connect, right? Because I can easily, and I'm guilty of it in the past, of my connection looked very different than how it looks today. My connection meant leaning forward, it meant cocking my head, it meant smiling, it meant showing. Even though I didn't mean it, of course I meant it. I was listening to, oh gosh, who was it? David White. He's a poet and he does something called Three Sundays. He's a poet in Ireland, a tremendous, beautiful soul. And so yesterday we did our last Sunday of the three Sunday series. And he was speaking about how we must be very careful not to impersonate ourselves. And I thought that is really cool. Whoa. I mean, I thought about it like for the whole day. I was like, in what way, even now, right? I have these perceptions of who I think I am. And in what way am I perpetuating for myself or others that kind of belief? Is there a way that I can kind of become more conscientious of my authentic self? And I think my only route there, the only way there, the direct route is to really be present for my own energy. When we do the back body thing too, that can help us get in and then connect with the other and be present for their energy. That's so good. So thank you for saying.
Then, as a practitioner, a lot of times we feel like I know and he needs my knowledge or my treatment, but it's not, it's more about um, not to be above someone or not to be better, it's to be with. Yeah,
Yes, that's beautiful. Write that down, please. That is so beautiful. Not to be above or below or anything to be with. Gorgeous. Thank you so much. Lori.
thank you.
Yeah.
By doing this work, Chantel, I'm finding that my relationships are much more present. More recently, all of a sudden, I'm in my back body when I'm with people. I'm really present when I'm with other people. So my relationships are getting better. They're both more, yeah, there's less of this, of me being, looking externally and me being more present with myself. So very cool.
Unbelievable. Very cool. Thank you so much, Lori. Anybody else? Any ideas, questions, or insights? All right. Okie dokie. We're going to do the back body. Let's do the back body together while we're at it, while we're talking about it. Okay, so the back body. The back body is I call it the back body. I write it as one word. The back body is your literal back body for sure. And it is being also part or being with the part of ourselves that we may try to get away from. Okay, so you could think of the back body as the past, and the front body as the forward. If you've ever done foot reading, right? Some believe the bottom of the feet are the secret, that which we keep quite sacred or hidden from the world, and the dorsal aspect, the dorsal aspect, the top of the feet are what we show the world, what we see to the world. So it's very, right? This is what I'm showing you. I'm not talking right now and giving you my back the whole time, right? There's a lot of other cultural connotations to what that might mean as well. But I'm definitely showing you something. So, this idea of back body is also very crucial because it means I'm being with this quite sacred part of self, one that is not necessarily shown to the world. And in many ways, I equate it with my past, right? A part of my past, something maybe I need to make peace with. So notice even now, as you're sitting in a chair or on your bed or wherever you are, just kind of imagine yourself. We're going to do a little imagination. You could close your eyes or lower your gaze. I want you to imagine yourself sitting at a cafe. It could be a cafe you know very well or an imagined one in another place that you've always wanted to go. And you're sitting at this cafe. Note the chair, what it feels like. And you're sitting across from somebody, and they're a very dear friend to you. They are somebody and let that person come to mind as well. They're sitting in front of you, and this person is talking. And I'll be quiet a moment to give you that silence so that they may come in. So you're sitting across from this person who is very dear to you, and they are telling you about some major thing that has just happened. It's very, very emotive, and uh, and they're quite emotional about it. As they're talking, I want you to notice what your body starts to do. And let that scene play out. Maybe you reach your hand across the table. Maybe you are leaning forward, as I was speaking about a moment ago, and just really see yourself at that cafe as they speak. And I want you to watch yourself in your mind's eye as to what your body is doing right now in that moment with them. I want you to be aware of if you are, in fact, leaning forward. Are you collapsed at the level of your belly or solar plexus? Are you bent over quite a bit because you want to reach across the table, right? So there'd be a real kind of collapse at the level of your hips, belly area. Is your neck or chin jutting forward? Are you slouched? Is your hand on your heart? Perhaps your shoulders are a little raised because your hands maybe have met in prayer at your mouth as you listen. Is there a level of concern? Your forehead, your eyes, and just notice what it's like to notice the tension in your body and where it is. And if you have a pen, scribble it down on the side too. Where in your body do you bend, hold, crunch, lift? Note those things in your head or write them down. Head off to the side. Again, a furrowed brow. Do you lean back and slunch big? What are all the incarnations of that expression? And now what I'd like you to do is soften one by one those places. Stay with your friend, stay with the listening. They'll continue to talk. And in your mind's eye, in your imagination, I want you to soften that brow, lower the shoulders, feel yourself on your seat, soften the jaw. You could even open and close it a little, soften your eyes. And I'll be quiet for a moment as you watch yourself one by one let go of those parts of your body that are collapsed or holding or tight and start to experience what it's like to feel your body soft and in a receptive state, in a state where you are being also seen as you're with your friend. And I'll be quiet for just a moment as you're there doing that and watching that. Some of you might notice that as you soften, a different kind of expression is able to move through you. A softening your heart or an availability even to your own tears, something like that might come through. And then I want you to go ahead and just kind of wiggle your toes and fingers and let that kind of evaporate or allow it to fall away, that image, like mist. So the back body is re-educating ourselves or reacquainting ourselves because I believe we deeply know it. I don't believe it's something we're actually even learning. It's something we're remembering. We know how to be there. We're reacquainting ourselves to our centrality. To do this, I must go back. I must literally find my back body, imagining as if I am maybe even leaning against a wall. If you have a wall behind you, you could even kind of feel that, or a chair, really feeling the back of something. I have a mantra that I say often, which is nothing to do, nowhere to go, nobody to be. Nothing to do, nowhere to go, nobody to be. Nothing to do, even now. Nowhere to go, nobody to be. So I'm embodying that sense. And it is also me being with where I come from, making peace with where I come from, and arriving at the center of this moment. This is the important place to reside with my clients, that I am in my body, that I am in my body right now. I'm not still at breakfast. I'm not in what happens after I get off work. I am in my body fully as I am with that other person. No amount of me revisiting my morning or traveling to the future will make this moment better, right? It'll only take away from the quality of connectivity that is possible between people, two people, or a group. So I really land inside. And so together now, we imagine ourselves with our back just gently leaning, supported, right? We're supported by that back wall. Our jaw is very loose. You could open and close it a couple times. Take a breath. Make sure your neck is free. You could even kind of rub with your fingertips along that occipital ridge and even your jaw a little bit. I always know I haven't done that enough in a day when I start to tingle when I do it. I'm like, oh man, wow, okay. So I do that a little bit. And then, if you'd like, if your eyes are closed, you could go ahead and open them a little and just begin to look around the room, right? And begin to orient yourself to the space. When you're doing this, I want you to really see stuff. I want you to decipher the detail. I want you to look at something and look at the edge, look at the color, and really get into what you are seeing. And I want you to notice, do that for a little bit. I'll be quiet as you do that. Take in the detail, detail, detail. And now I want you to be aware again of where you're holding tension in your body as you watch and look for detail. Is there any tightening or hardness in your eyes, in your brow, in your shoulders, in your jaw, anywhere? And write it down or keep it in your head. And now what I'd like you to do is continue to look around, and I want you to soften your eyes, almost like it's like a blur. You could just kind of let everything be a blur. You're still seeing things, but you are falling back in your eye sockets. You're resting back into your eye sockets. So from here, your environment, the stove, the trees, the door, the cat, everything sees you. So instead of me seeing, just like me doing, I let that way of being in the world, way of doing in the world go, and I let myself be seen by what is around me. In being seen, I am able to see more clearly. So, as a practitioner, as a person, as a friend, as an acquaintance, as a stranger, I let myself be seen. And in this vulnerable state, I can see more clearly. I will be able to truly see. One note about this, as you explore this in your days, because I encourage you to really take this into your day, little by little, see what it's like to be across from somebody at a cafe. Maybe you're ordering a cup of tea or coffee or something. Maybe you meet somebody on the street you haven't seen in a while. Pay attention to your body and all the things, all the gorgeous things that we habitually do, that we've just been doing for a long time. And just note them. Don't even change them in the moment. Don't try to become straight or, in no way are we like, trying to get perfect posture. Quite the opposite. We're trying to soften, right? So you just note kind of what you're doing, stay in it as you're doing it. And then once they go away, you pull out your notebook and you're like, neck, jaw, right? And then as you continue to observe yourself going place to place, person to person, see what it's like to just soften one of those areas, right? As they're talking, you met them on the street or at the cafe, just see what it's like to be in your jaw and see what it's like to soften it. Or how would it be if I rested back in my eye sockets? And instead of seeing them, right, really trying to see them, instead, I come back even more. I haven't done it yet. And I can do it even while teaching, right? I can be here. I can be seen. I can be vulnerable. This is a very powerful place, and I think it's something that we might learn from animals. We might trust that I will be able to react, right? My cortisol, my epinephrine, all the chemicals that might need to come in should I need to run or do something big or, for whatever reason. Trust that I have inside of myself, it's built in a mechanism that makes it so that those chemicals will go like that, and I'll be able to be fine. So it's okay for me to be vulnerable and rest back in my eyes. And actually, from that sweet resting place, I will be able to, if you've ever seen a cat from that sweet resting place, you could pounce right quickly. So if there's any part of you, and I say this because people have brought it up before in classes, and conversation as well, of that fear of like, but if I'm not on, if I'm not ready, if I'm not aware, that's dangerous. So just to bring that into this conversation as well of yeah, it's an inquiry, it's a question to consider. Is it quite possible that I may be more aware of my environment when I am really inside my body? And can I trust that my body knows what to do in any given moment? So I wanted to open it up one more time before we go into the exercises. We're going to go into two subtle holds. We're going to do the head hold, the heart hold, and then we're going to do some rotations, stirring the soup and the rotations at the level of the toes. And then I'm going to show you treading as well, which is how to help a client be in their back body when doing that traction, to help lighten it up so we're not stretching anybody or pulling against what their fascia or connective tissue is saying no to. So just any questions, insights, ideas about what that was like for you to do the back body just now? How was that?
And
Mhm.
that was so interesting because this morning I spent 50 minutes talking to a friend in Australia who is having a really terrible time. And I was walking my dog and holding my phone, and I crunched in, my hand was at my throat when she was telling me how awful things were. And I just replayed that, imagining I had been sitting across from her instead of on the phone, and then did what you said and just kind of pulled back and opened up, and yet was still able to imagine how I felt this morning and be empathetic and sympathetic and really feel for her. But I didn't, like, my automatic reaction, I just remember this morning, I just did this. I just felt so terrible for her. But I could still feel all those things, but you know, not all like this. Just open up. So I don't know what that means. I haven't worked that out, but I just like to share what it felt like.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Nikki. So much. Yeah, you might have noticed even when I was listening to you, I started to go into, we have these habitual ways of being and what a gift this lifetime, right? Because we could do it. This can take for the rest of our lives as we know it. We move in and out of these experiences. And what I have found so cool is I can hear more, I can feel more. Actually, the empathy grows the more I soften. Um, so that's very, thank you so much for sharing. Yeah. Anybody else? Okay. We're diving in. We're going in. I'm going to show you a video that will illustrate the head hold, the heart hold, stirring the soup, and treading. Not rotation of the toes, but the other four, yes. So I'm going to go ahead and get that video. Da, da, da. Okay, so share. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and minimize that. So let's look at this. We're going to skip ahead. If you were in a recent class of mine, we did this sunbursting and this work that we do on the toes. If any of you don't know what I'm talking about, I'll put it in the chat. And I'll put a little link at the bottom of the video of how we utilize a technique I call press and rock or tilting. So I'll put, whoops, where'd I go? Uh-oh. There we go. Okay, so this first thing is the head hold. So I'm taking my solar plexus reflex area in my hand and I'm placing it ever so gently over an area of the foot. In this case, it's the head area. Since I'm at the very tip top of the toes, you could really think of those frontal lobes or that prefrontal cortex or the frontal cortex. So my solar plexus is there. Now this is the heart hold. Same thing. I'm taking my solar plexus reflex area and I'm placing it gently over their heart. You could do it unilaterally or bilaterally as we're doing it here. And I always peel away slowly as I come away from that area. That's me going into traction. And right away, I initiate what we call treading. I'm doing it a little bit bigger here because I really want you to see it. So treading is like somebody walking. So right now he's walking, what is it, toe first? And now he's going heel first. His left heel first, his right heel first. So when you try this, and we'll do it together, you are initiating that action of one foot, one heel, or one toe going down first in front of the other. So when we're bringing someone into traction, that could be quite intense. So by doing it one at a time, that could be a little bit more gentle in releasing their back body. This is called stirring the soup. It's a very gentle and sometimes imperceivable technique. So it's done a little bit bigger here. So you might notice I'm holding his heels. It's as if I call it stirring the soup because I imagine in the center of my hand at the level of that solar plexus as well, right? What would be the bubbling spring, I suppose, right? So that area is holding a little bit of miso. And I do a very gentle rotation 3 times in both directions where I'm stirring that soup, but not spilling it would be the, let me go ahead and stop that share and end the show. So, so a couple things. We had the head hold, the heart hold, we had treading, and we had stirring soup. And given the time, let's just do those 4. There'll be another day for toes. So head hold. So here's the foot. I'm going to take my solar plexus, and you can also try it over your thumb. So your other hand, my solar plexus on my right hand, this is the solar plexus reflex area. It's at the apex directly underneath my 3rd metacarpal head, right underneath it. It's an energetic point, our solar plexus point. I'm going to take that and I'm going to place it over the top of their toe or my thumb. So in this case, the most important action, and go quite slowly too, if you'd like. And you could even rest your hand here so you could really get used to how slow you can go. And you're going to just barely touch it. And then you're going to allow your hands to fall and relax over it. So you're in no way pressing. You're in no way, even like we do in reflexology, you're not even doing like a press and hold. There's no pressure per se. You're taking this and it's just like if you were to greet your fingertips. So gentle. So it's very, very gentle. And then I relax my fingers over it. So when I relax my fingers over it, you might even notice that your hand is able to pull away a little bit. So you can really get in touch with that energetic connection between your solar plexus reflex area and your own, unless one of you have feet in front of you, which maybe if you watch this again or next time you do a session, be aware of that as well. You can do it bilaterally at the same time, but I usually do it 1 foot at a time. And go ahead and just try the other one so we're not uneven. And since we're sitting, be aware of your elbows. Let them be resting on the table or on the side chair so you feel very supported. if we were doing self-care right now and utilizing this technique, we would want to have pillows under both of our elbows, pillows under the elbows. Yes, there's nothing that's being held again. So you always want to feel our body in complete relaxation as we're providing to. So to do the heart hold, you saw me do it bilaterally, where I actually crossed my hands and greeted the heart reflex area of the feet. I will always do it one at a time. So say, for instance, this is their right foot. I will take my right hand, reflex area for the solar plexus, and I greet it. And I'll even extend my hand. So my solar plexus is leading the way. And then right when I get there, right when it's very, very gentle, I've just made contact, I lighten it. Again, it is the most soft, gentle, subtle way to make contact with one reflex area to the other. And then after I've greeted that one, I would slowly greet the other one, and then I'm able to do both at the same time. You can try it in self-care. So there's a couple things. In where I place the heart reflex area is right here. There are maps that place it here. Okay, so wherever it is for you, do it there. Or I sometimes like, as we've noticed in our spinal or our spine reflex area, it's sometimes a little bit different, especially as we go towards the lumbar spine, the sacrum coccyx area. There's some differentiation in some maps. So if somebody has lower back, coccyx, sacrum stuff, I will do a variation on all those three places that different people where they place it. So it's the same here, right? So you can do heart in both places, but you can try this technique with my solar plexus area, right hand. My left hand right here, I would just greet it like this and place it over. This is the perfect time to actually have a pillow or to place your elbows on the table. And so I'm greeting it here. I have to do this action in order to relax, almost like I just am holding my hand like that, but it's a little higher up and there's no clasping, there's no holding. I'm really focusing my attention on my solar plexus reflex area to that heart. So all the other fingers, all the other connections that happen to be made are very soft, and I'm not placing my intention there. And you could do the other side. You could also do it in your lap. I love doing work in my lap because it gives me an opportunity to close my eyes and lower my gaze and not have to work so hard in my elbows and my shoulders. Next, we have, we'll do treading and then we'll end with stirring soup and then we'll close for the day. So with treading, and this is why I said we have to do it in person, but just to introduce you so you could begin to practice with your loved ones and your clients. So if you're a practitioner, you know how to do traction, right? So you are holding here. Make sure you're clenching in any kind of way with your fingers or fingertips. It's really, trust that the weight of their heels is keeping you in place. You don't need to hold on to them, right? So I have them here, right? So it's just trying to think the best way to, right? It's just like that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to lean my body back. So I'm going to go ahead and lean my body back. When I lean my body back, the moment I feel the tension occur, and it can happen right away in their back body, I'm going to begin this treading gesture. The treading gesture just means I'm taking one of my arms, one of their feet, one of their heels, and I'm taking that into a slight, almost like a wheel. Like I'm going here and then here. I'm going to make a big gesture. This is not as big as it would go, but I'm going to be doing like this, right? And if I'm doing that gesture, this wheel, I can actually do a slightly smaller gesture with my wrist. So I'm going to do this. I'm doing it way too big. But you see how I'm bending? And in so doing, it's going to go toe heel, toe, heel, or heel, toe, heel, toe, heel, toe. That is huge. Don't ever do it that big. But you're going to have it like this, and you're going to do a very slight gesture where you're just going to articulate your wrists to do that. And now I'm seeing it go toes first, toe first, right? Toe first. Or I could flip it and go heel first, heel first, heel first. So that is the treading gesture. In order for you to fully uh, understand what I'm saying, try it on somebody, right? Because now it's just intellectual. So there's that. That would be the treading gesture. And then lastly, the stirring of soup. So in stirring the soup, again, you envision almost like this little soup, like, or you probably have once upon a time put water there and sipped it, right? Imagine a tiny little bit of soup there, a little bit of miso in both hands. And even try it just like this with no feet in your hands. All you're going to do is go 3 times in one direction and 3 times in another. That gesture is going to be like this. So I'm here, I'm going to go in this direction. This is a little bit bigger. I'm imagining the soup. If I go too big, it will spill. So this is just one hand. From the side, it would be like this. So again, it's this articulation of my wrist, right? So I'm doing an articulation of my wrist, and I'm making it so that I am creating a circle in one direction and then a circle in the other direction. So go ahead and just try that. Low though, be like at your, you could even have your hands almost on your thighs. And I just want you to explore this gesture of going around in one direction and going around in the other. You could even visualize either looking at it or feeling it, that solar plexus point that we identified. You almost see that making a tiny little circle in one direction and a tiny little circle in the other. So if I'm looking at my solar plexus reflex point, on the back side is almost right below this third knuckle. So that's the area. Envision if I had paint on this third knuckle, I could draw something in one direction and draw something in another. So if that is placed upturned, soup is up, and I have paint there, I want to draw a circle. I want to draw a circle with my third knuckle. A very tiny circle with my third knuckle, one direction, tiny circle, drawing it in the other direction. That's the little gesture you're doing. I'll be quiet for a minute while you continue to explore that. Very good. You could bring that to a close. I suppose it could be a little relaxing, huh? To do these gestures, even just with ourselves. Any questions, insights, ideas, things that came to mind? Yes, go ahead.
You mentioned at the beginning that what do we do if we feel a resistance?
Yes, the treading. So what happens often, what's so beautiful is the feet really do speak. And right, we can feel the more I've become so sensitive that I can feel areas push me out. I could feel tissue harden. You could feel we could feel under our fingertips the subtle gestures of not too much. Right. And sometimes it's literally they might say something or you could feel their foot, but their tissue will speak too. So when we're doing that traction where we're just kind of leaning our bodies back, maybe before we do a little shake, 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 sometimes we go traction and then a little shake, just kind of warm the body up and settle. In that traction, that's where you might feel there's a tightness It might be a tightness of their hamstrings. It might be a tightness in their calves, right? That's soleus. It might be a tightness in their lower back or back. Or it could just be an energetic tightness within the body itself that is expressed and we're able to experience as we go into traction. So almost every single time, it's very rare, unless somebody has a very open back body, that I actually even ever do traction as it is learned. So every single time I go into traction, I almost always initiate treading one foot and then the other. So I would try it both way. Try it. Next time you are holding that calcaneus, those two heels, and you lean back just a little bit, feel for a tightness in their body. Whether you feel that or not, see what it's like to try this gesture of them kind of walking, right? Where you're taking one in front of the other. Very, very subtle though. You can do this, and Lori, you might want to speak to this. Lori is very, very gifted. She's a dear friend and for want of a better word, an assistant in this work that we do with reflexology for trauma and addiction. And she does it even more subtle than I do. And so that treading gesture or that stirring soup gesture, you can do it so it's barely seen. And clients, I've been lucky enough that clients do, speak of it. Lori, do you want to talk about it a little bit? Does that help does that help a little bit? Oh, good. Okay, good.
So
Thank you.
Chantel, you also, the thing that I use is my hips. So there's
Yeah.
this rotation of movement, and the arms are kind of an extension of my hips. And I
Gorgeous.
do it very slowly. Um, because I actually feel it internally. There's an unwinding that also happens for me as I'm doing it. And I actually did this. I have a person who is a craniosacral friend of mine, and she is my tester on all of this work. And she could feel it. Even I was much slower and much more subtle, but she was like, "That's beautiful. I really feel like my body is relaxing." It like met where I was. And she's a little uh, she pulses pretty high, so it I think it definitely might depend upon the person, but I really like doing it slow. It just for me, for me it's very helpful for me too. So
Beautiful. Perfect. Thank you so much. Yeah, that's so good. Right. That like, yeah, everybody, when you try it, that's great. Yes, it's the body. Of course, then it's relaxing for the practitioner. When so much of what we're doing, I think I've shared with you before, someone once told me, they're like, you like do reflexology like you're playing the cello, because I'm so moving the whole time with the body, right? So that idea, I just watching you, I saw that, right? This subtle movement in our bodies as we're calming, as we're centering, as we're reclaiming centrality, becoming more present. Nikki, like what you were speaking of, right? Like just being in. It's a very powerful place to give because we're listening to someone else's body when we give reflexology. That's the thing we're doing. We're listening. We're having a conversation and we're not talking a lot. We're mostly listening. Um, any other questions, ideas, insights before we close for the day and the evening? Yeah, Nikki.
The stirring the soup feels I want to go in opposite directions with my hands.
Ooh,
Because when I do traction, and I often do traction and then open, feel like I'm opening the pelvis. So I'm, as well as doing like a longitudinal traction, I'm kind of opening the medial side of the ankles, and I feel like I'm opening the pelvis that way.
yeah.
Then I do that. So that would be like that. So my immediate inclination when I was stirring the soup until I saw what your hands are doing was I was doing that. And I wonder what you think of that. Is
I
that
think it's
totally against the thought or theory, or
I think it's tremendous. I think it's fantastic. I think it's exactly right. I say it all the time in my live classes is so much, not so much. All of this work is an invitation. It's an invitation to like bring into your existing work. And so exactly, and I think that's the nature of, and I think of reflexology as an evolving practice. It's something that's not set. Of course, we learned, we took our year or two or whatever long it took us to get our reflexology certificate at the very beginning. And we had to learn the history, the basics, the people, the neurophysics, all the things that we learned. And now it's this, and it's not a departure, it's a deepening into. So our expression of reflexology must be of self. And what you just said of that kind of opening and that pelvic opening, and then utilizing this gesture of stirring soup to deepen or facilitate that, that sounds fantastic. I would do it all ways. I would ALLWAYZ, right? Try it that way. Try it going in one direction, try it going in the other. Um, Try it in all the different ways and see how it is in your body. And if you can work with somebody where you could even ask, maybe it's not a client, but a loved one or a friend, and get some feedback that way, that would be cool too. Awesome. Yeah. Christy, I think you were about to say something.
Yeah, when you were doing the heart hold, intuitively, I do that when I'm with my end of life patients. I'll hold heart to heart, and teach family members how to do that, to hold heart to heart, to just feel and connect. And so it was really interesting that it came up because it was just like, oh, it has a name, but it's just what I've always done with my end of life patients, and taught families to do. So
Wow.
it's just amazing the feeling that you get connecting with someone's heart.
Totally. I love that you made that connection. It also makes me think, right, when we're holding, I only have a foot, not a hand, right, when we're holding someone else's hand,
Yeah.
or right, it could be the heart, it could be solar plexus to solar plexus.
Yeah. That's what I do a lot. It's just that what I consider the heart to heart, or depending on how their hands are, I do hold across, so
Yeah.
it just kind of depends, but it definitely is a really strong heart connection for people.
So beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. And all the more reason again we're all doing this all the time, right? It's like I discover these things and I give them names, but it's like we're all doing it. We're all already doing it in our way. And I think that's the real gift, is that we're doing it in our way. And it's so beautiful, so good. Thank you.
Chantel, you know how I found out about that heart hold is I had a woman who just was diagnosed with cancer, and
Mhm.
I went to her house and she said, "You're working on my heart," which I was, but I was holding it. And from then on, and that was early in my reflexology practice. And then from then on, I just, it was because of her that and I know she passed away, but it was just like, what a gift to be able to learn from our clients also, you know.
So good. We're so lucky. We're so lucky. Thank you, everybody. We'll close for the day, or the night. Some of you, it's night, although it's pretty bright everywhere right now. I'm going to upload this for us if you want to watch it again, and also for everyone else who wasn't able to be here too. Have a really beautiful day and night. Thank you for being here. I'll see you soon.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Much love.